Ça me fait un plaisir d'être avec vous, avec mes collègues, ici à Vancouver. Je suis prête à répondre à quelques questions.
Madame Freeland, oui, est-ce que vous êtes intéressée par le poste de secrétaire général de l'OTAN? On en a entendu parler dans certains médias. Est-ce que c'est un poste qui vous intéresse?
Comme vous savez, comme j'espère tous les Canadiens savent, j'ai déjà un grand travail, même du travail. Et je prends très au sérieux mes responsabilités en tant que ministre des Finances du Canada, en tant que vice-première ministre du Canada. Nous avons aujourd'hui beaucoup de raisons pour l'optimisme économique, mais je sais aussi que nous avons une situation économique compliquée et pour moi, c'est un grand privilège de travailler avec le Premier ministre, avec mes collègues, avec les Canadiens pour essayer toujours d'améliorer les vies des Canadiens et Canadiennes.
Vous avez... In English, please, Deputy Prime Minister.
C'est mon cible. Yeah. So I have a really big job already. In fact, I have two big jobs as Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. And I am really, really focused on those and on working hard with the Prime Minister, with my cabinet colleagues, with Canadians to, get through a challenging economic time in the world and to really capitalize on what I believe are the tremendous opportunities ahead of our country.
Madame Freeland, l'inflation. On entend des Canadiens inquiets par le prix du pain, du beurre, etc., d'autres denrées qui augmentent. Qu'est-ce que vous allez faire concrètement, votre gouvernement, pour essayer d'enlever de la pression sur le portefeuille des Canadiens?
Pour moi, en ce qui concerne l'économie, c'était une été importante. Parce que pour la première fois du début du COVID, j'ai eu l'opportunité de voyager autour du pays. Je suis allée à 21 villes et municipalités, 7 provinces, et j'ai parlé avec beaucoup des Canadiens, avec des producteurs agricoles, avec des mineurs, avec des éducatrices. Et ce que j'ai entendu, c'est d'un côté beaucoup d'optimisme, beaucoup de confiance sur la puissance économique de notre pays, sur l'avenir. Beaucoup de gens m'ont parlé de la marché du travail qui est très forte, même dans laquelle on a la pénurie de main-d'œuvre. D'autre côté, les gens comprennent et les gens ont parlé avec moi d'une situation économique aujourd'hui pour les familles qui est complexe. Notre gouvernement a pris et va continuer de prendre une approche équilibrée. D'un côté, pour nous, c'est très important de penser du long terme, de prendre des mesures pour la croissance stable et durable. Nous comprenons que les Canadiens aujourd'hui font face à une situation compliquée. Nous comprenons aussi que c'est très important pour notre gouvernement de ne pas créer des plus graves problèmes pour notre économie. Et pour cette raison, d'un côté, on va appuyer, et on a déjà appuyé les Canadiens. D'autre côté, on va continuer de prendre une approche fiscale responsable et prudente, comme on a fait dans le budget d'avril.
Deputy Prime Minister, I wonder if we could get your reaction to the Bank of Canada's interest rate hike. And I know you've resisted specific cost of living measures to this point, pointing to the affordability package in your budget. But you said you wouldn't rule it out should circumstances change. With inflation still running hot and with the interest rates going up and that hitting Canadians, what's the trigger point from when you decide to do something extra to help people deal with the cost of living?
Look, it's a very important question and something the Prime Minister and I have devoted a lot of time to talking about with each other and with our teams over the summer, and something we'll be talking about with Cabinet colleagues today and tomorrow. This has been a very important summer for me because really for the first time since COVID hit, I've had the chance to get out in the country and talk to a lot of Canadians. I was in 7 provinces, 21 towns and cities. I talked to farmers, miners, skilled tradespeople, IT entrepreneurs, daycare workers, lots and lots of people. And it was really important for me to get that kind of direct fingertip feel of what is happening in the Canadian economy and what Canadians are feeling and thinking. And if I were still a reporter, the headline of my story would be, Canadians are working hard. Canadians have real confidence in the long term for our country, real optimism in our country's long term. Canadians really understand that we have a lot of jobs in the country right now. And Canadians also understand the challenges with the cost of living. When it comes to our government's approach, we are going to continue to take a balanced and careful approach as we have done all of this year. So we understand that the most vulnerable in our society need to be supported. That has been our government's approach since day one, since we formed government in 2015. We also understand right now that our government has a real responsibility to be fiscally responsible. And that was one of the guiding principles of the budget in April. And that is going to be an approach that we continue to take. Because, you know, what I really think is important for us to bear in mind is this is a challenging global environment economically. We are still dealing with the aftershocks of the COVID recession. We now have Putin's invasion of Ukraine causing huge challenges for the global economy, principally Europe, but that has an impact on all of us. And Canada is not immune to these challenges. What Canada has, though, going into these challenges is really strong economic fundamentals. We have this year the strongest growth in the G7. We have this year lowest debt and deficit in the G7. And inflation is elevated in Canada, but compared to our peer countries, it's lower. Inflation in Canada is lower than in the UK, in the US, in Germany, in the Eurozone. And I think all of us were pleased to see the July number receding a little bit from the June number. So I don't want to understate the challenge ahead, but I do want us, as we go into it, to also, as a country, have the confidence that comes from the strength of our foundations.
But it sounds like you're telling Canadians they're just going to have to ride it out. Is that what we should infer from your answer?
No,
that
no,
there's no specific measures to help them beyond what was in the budget?
No, I didn't say that. I said that we are constantly looking. We're going to continue to do that. I think that's going to be a very important subject of our discussions today and tomorrow.
Juste pour suivre un peu dans la même veine, Madame Freeland, allez-vous présenter premièrement une mise à jour économique et budgétaire cet automne? Puis deuxièmement, par rapport à l'aide directe aux citoyens, est-ce que vous l'écartez maintenant catégoriquement le fait qu'une aide fédérale directe pourrait venir du fédéral?
Non, je pense que ma réponse était claire. Et c'est qu'on a toujours pris une position, une approche équilibrée. D'un côté, on doit prendre une approche, surtout aujourd'hui, du côté fiscal responsable. C'est important, c'était une des thèmes principaux du budget en avril, et on continuera de prendre une approche du côté fiscal responsable. Mais d'autre côté, un principe du premier jour en 2015 de notre gouvernement, un principe fondamental pour nous, c'est de protéger les plus vulnérables. Et on a fait ça dans le budget d'avril. On continuera de faire ça. Et comme je pense tout le monde sait, nous avons aujourd'hui dans le monde entier des conditions économiques difficiles et des conditions économiques qui changent chaque jour. Alors notre gouvernement sera aussi agile dans nos réponses aux conditions économiques mondiales. Merci beaucoup.
Minister, on
English, please.
one more on inflation. We've heard repeatedly that supply chain is the real driver of inflation right now because of the pandemic. Do you think continuing to raise interest rates, even though that's sort of been the traditional approach that central banks have taken, in this case, is it really the right approach, and is it really going to make an impact on inflation to keep raising the prime rate?
As when COVID first hit, and as we have gone through these two really volatile years in the world, which more recently included Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, I have found myself coming back time and again to what are Canada's fundamental strengths. And I think a lot about peace, order, and good government. That is Canada. We are a country which very fortunately has still strong institutions and strong public trust in our governing institutions. That is something easy to have as a country in sunny times. It's hard to do when the global storm hits. And we have had a lot of global storms hitting us over the past 2 years. And I started there because, from my perspective, now more than ever is a time for Canadians to build social trust with each other and to have trust and confidence in Canada's fundamental governing institutions. And one of Canada's fundamental institutions is the Bank of Canada. It's not my job to do the bank's job. And I do think it's important for Canadians to recognize that the bank has the mandate and the tools and the expertise to tackle inflation, which is elevated today.
It sounds like you're trying to be polite and saying you're not going to criticize the decision.
I generally try to be polite. Yeah, I do. I think it's a good principle of public life.
But do you think it's the right approach generally, without today's decision?
No, what I was saying actually is that I recognize the independence of the Bank of Canada as one of the fundamental institutional pillars in Canada. And I am not going to jeopardize that. I think that's an important part of me doing my job. Okay, thank you very much. See you later.